I'm Katie and welcome to our first lockdown lunch. I can see there are still a few people joining us, so welcome. Thank you for joining us on this really miserable Wednesday kind of afternoon, and I hope that this inspires you and motivates you a little bit today and for the next following week. So welcome. Lockdown Lunches was created kind of as like a support mechanism for our UA92 students, our student ambassadors, and also our prospective students for 2021, 2022 and 2023 to kind of keep you motivated and inspired during our third and hopefully final lockdown. Like I said, I know that I'm feeling it at the moment. The days are really dark. They're typically rainy for Manchester. And so hopefully you'll gain a little bit of inspiration through these weekly half-hour sessions. So like I said, they're a focus on character and personal development, and that is what we really focus on here at UA92. And I'm sure our brilliant student ambassador will be speaking about the focus on character and personal development later on in the presentation. But today is a focus upon goal setting in 2021. So January for me is always kind of a bit of a reset, a self-reflective period where I think about goals kind of for the next year ahead. But it's been pretty tricky to set goals when we're feeling so uninspired and unproductive due to the lockdown and just that kind of the situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. So today, hopefully we'll be inspiring you to create those year goals again, focusing upon why you should set goals to be successful, kind of give you some real world examples and a great framework to create your objectives around. So I'm Katie, I'm one of the student recruitment officers here at UA92, part of the brilliant team UA92, and we are unfortunately not on campus at the moment due to the lockdown, but we will be back on campus hopefully fully in March, which I'm really excited to do. We'll also today be speaking with our lovely sports management student ambassador, Maya. So Maya, if you'd like to turn your camera on, give us a wave. She'll be talking through how she stays motivated to achieve and her goal setting top tips, plus time for a question and answer session. So get your questions in on the chat or just say hey, or you can put your questions in the question and answer box as we go through too. But kind of first, I'd love to introduce you to Joe, who will be supporting us with today's goal setting session. Joe is our goal setting expert, which I've named him especially for today. He's managing director of Manchester-based growth consultancy Vault 23. So Joe, if you're okay to turn your camera and mic on too. Hi Joe, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you keeping?
Yeah, not too bad, trying to kind of stay motivated. I've got all my lamps on to keep myself lit because it is so dark around here at the moment. It hasn't stopped raining. So how are you doing on this miserable day too?
I'm okay, thank you. I'm very well. Just the same as everybody else, just keep on ticking along, taking it on a day-by-day basis and working in lockdown. But I actually launched my business on the month before we shut down in lockdown in February. So I've pretty much been accustomed to life as a business owner in lockdown. So I welcome when we open back up and get back to normal, which is hopefully soon.
Yeah, and just out of interest, have you been working from home or have you been working in your own office? How have you found it?
Depending, because as you mentioned earlier, we've been through 3 lockdowns now. So intermittently, when we were sort of, in the tiers, I was able to just pop around the corner to offices. I have been working really in Greater Manchester since the lockdown happened. I was working a lot in the city centre, but obviously with lockdown, it's made me change my offices, and I've been working more regionally in Greater Manchester. So when it was everything was open, I used to pop in, but now I have to sort of mix it up and work from the bedroom and kitchen and wherever at home and make best of what I can.
Yeah, wherever you can find a quiet space. And Maya,
Yes, exactly.
how have you found being a student during lockdown?
It's been hard because obviously it's not what we signed up for as such, but I think this uni have helped us so much. Some of my friends have told me stories and they've had no help whatsoever, but I think they've done a really good job at helping us through it as such.
Yeah, it's so tricky for the students as well. I started at UA92 kind of 2 weeks before the lockdown. So my job is kind of maybe similar to Joe's in the fact that sometimes I'm not always in the office. I'm kind of going around different schools and colleges, going to different UCAS fairs. And my job is very much kind of communication based. And I get to speak to lovely students like Maya and just kind of tell them about UA92 and talk about their kind of career goals, etc. So I really struggle to kind of work from home, and I think it's a bit of a learning curve for everyone, isn't it, at the moment? But we're all taking it in our stride, I suppose. Okay, so going on to actually goal setting. So I just want to firstly start kind of from the beginning with yourself, Joe, and talk about why you use kind of growth and goal setting within your business. So could you talk to me about Vault 23's mission regarding growth and goals?
Yeah, of course. I mean, from our perspective, I work with a lot of fast growth clients across technology, property and finance. And it's always very important that, our vision as a consultancy is to make our clients number one within their respective marketplaces. And we drive really hard to do that. And growth really comes with, goal setting and objective setting, because you need to make sure when you're working with these clients in the respective industries, that you are accountable essentially for those. So it's always good to create that structure by setting growth objectives, because you can measure whether you're on track to achieving what you set out to achieve.
And why is that so important to you as a person? So obviously you've got your business around kind of growth and goals, but how did you kind of enter this kind of area of industry?
I think it's because, especially when I was a lot younger, I used to hear people talk about it and not really practice it that much. It was something that I probably dismissed. However, when I started to get into my career and, started reading more and spending more time with entrepreneurs, I found that all of the very successful ones, businessmen and businesswomen across Manchester and beyond in the UK, all set growth objectives and goal setting. And that, for me and for them, allows you to take that accountability in terms of taking responsibility for your own personal life, for your own career, whether you're a student or whether you're in the world of work. It's actually that importance of setting out a vision of where you want to be, and you as a person are the only person that's going to be able to help you get there. So it's important to set out these objectives to keep you on track.
Yeah, and just turning that to some of our students, why should they set goals? Kind of, when we were just talking previously, kind of when we started university, I didn't set myself kind of a 3-year goal, which I, looking back now, wish that I had, because I know that I would have been able to tick them off as I go. I love ticking my goals and my to-do list stuff. So why do you think that it's important for our students to set those goals?
I can completely empathise with you there, Katie, on that, because it's something that I wish I would have done at university. It's only something that I've started doing in the last 3 years, which has been really essential for me to kicking on through my career and rising up through the ranks. I think it's very important for the students to do it, because it gets you into good habits, and good habits form success. It's very easy when you start to become into that adult life, when you go into university, to not have any accountability and, just to turn up to your lessons and not really have any objectives. However, if you do take a proactive mindset into your education, it will set you in good stead going into your career, and it allow you to thrive as well as a student. But also, I would say on the objective setting that the objective setting, can be career led. But I do like to set objectives across different areas of my life as well, in terms of personal relationships, finances, investment, business and career, and also my health as well.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I definitely agree that we should, instead of just having specific kind of career goal objectives, you also want objectives in your personal relationships and also physical. I just said previously it was raining this morning, so I didn't go for my morning run, and I've already had to cross it off the to-do list. I'm really upset with myself. But to go into you, Maya, just from your student perspective, obviously you're in first year. Joe and I have mentioned that we really regret not kind of setting ourselves goals. Talking about your own experience, what do you think that it's important for yourself to have set the goals, and did you in September when you started?
So in September I didn't set any goals, because obviously it was so we were sort of thrown in, and it was like, you can go to uni. Like, it was all like a last minute, and we are going to be allowed on campus sort of thing. So like, I think that was more what I was focused on. But as we went from into 2021, I did set some goals, and I've got them in my phone because I know I won't lose them if they're there. But no, I think it's nice when you set goals almost to look back once you've done it, because you do see how far you've come. So it's not, for me, it's not looking to the future. It's like almost looking back when I achieve one, because it's like, oh, well, that's where I started, rather than that's where I want to be, if that makes sense. You can actually see how much you have improved in yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree, and especially it's actually really good for personal reflection. And maybe when you kind of complete your degree at UA92, you're going to be applying for jobs, and you're going to need to write your CV and a cover letter, and when you go to interviews, you need to prove kind of why you're the best person to do that. So coming to you, Joe, really quickly, how do you think that goal setting will help our students once they finish UA92 to get the job of their dreams?
I think it's very important, and I think in terms of the growth objectives, as I say, you have to become accountable, and it gives you that vision and it gives you that direction when you're setting it. As I say, when I came out of university, personally, I was a little bit lost and, you know, wandering around looking for jobs, not really knowing what area that I wanted to get into. So it took me around, you know, 12 months to actually get into a role that I was happy with. Something that suited my skill set. So I think it's really important that you start preparing for that as soon as you can in university and in your career, and trying to get a clear picture and vision of, you know, maybe not exactly the role that you'd like, but for example, when I was first setting out my company, I set out goals, and also specifically around the type of founders that I wanted to work with. Not necessarily the actual businesses. It was the founders and the people that I wanted to be around on a daily basis. And sometimes you won't always be able to, you know, identify what you actually want to go into. But I find it quite helpful on setting goals and writing down a vision of what would make you happy, what types of business, what type of person would you like to work for. And I think that sets in a mindset and a structure in your head of what you want to do, and anything else, you know, you won't settle for. And I've really found that actually helpful, where you know, if you're going into a role, you might dismiss certain areas because you know that won't make you happy. And I've turned down contracts because they're not the type of founders that I particularly want to work with.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Maya, just finally going, if we think back to when you were in year 13, so last year, and the types of students that are applying kind of through UCAS and to UA92 and other kind of traditional universities as well, what goals do you wish you had set in, say, January this time last year, and so we could inform some of the students that may be watching today?
Maybe things to do with, I know it's hard at the minute, but like going to look at as many unis as you can, so like join as many of these style things as you can, just because you can't get on campus at the minute as much as you would probably like, but you can get an idea of like the environment you're going into. And I think that's what made me choose UA92, was the environment I was going into. So you need to see what's best suited for you. So join as many things as you can, because most people have got nothing else to do at the minute. Like, I know I'm doing as much as I can because I'm so bored, but literally join anything you can, and so you can just get a feel and a vibe for like where you're going next year.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And that could be kind of one of the kind of short-term goals, with a long-term objective of getting into university in September and being a bit more kind of understanding of what it'll be in September. So thank you for that. So perfect. So we'll go on to kind of more of the real world goal setting. So it's all well and good us kind of talking about in the kind of dream world during kind of non-COVID times, where we put our goal settings on a piece of paper and then we kind of achieve them as soon as we can. The real world isn't as nice as our kind of dream world in our head. So coming to you, Joe, how have you supported the businesses that you've worked with in achieving kind of their growth and their goals in the current climate at the moment?
Yeah, well, it has been very tough, as I say, locking down into locking down in March. It's been you know, very tough for businesses, and they've really had to reassess about how they go around their everyday operations, because you can't have face-to-face discussions, and no matter what people say, you can't replicate that ability of having face-to-face conversations. You can do things over Zoom, and that's helpful, but being in face-to-face in what I do helps you to build those relationships. So it's been really essential. And every time I engage a client, the step that I actually do them is the goal setting piece. That's the first step of my consultancy, which is around what are they trying to achieve, and that makes them accountable, and it makes me accountable as well. But what I find a lot of people neglect is they actually do the goal setting, but they don't focus on the actual outputs that are going to deliver it and the habits that are going to get them there. So that's very important for me, is setting the growth sets, the growth objectives and the goal setting with the founders that makes us both accountable, but also on my side in terms of the delivering the outputs of what I'm going to do every day to get up. And I start that from my morning in terms of the habits that I actually do, in terms of getting up early, getting out for a run, and then having contact with people. I might set myself a task of, a few conversations a day, and really focus on those habits and outputs that are going to get me there, because once you do that, it helps you to, refine and make sure you're on track.
Yeah, my next question I was going to ask, actually, I think you've kind of pointed upon it. But what about your personal goals too? So you've been really successful in kind of creating and starting your business during lockdown. How have you achieved kind of the growth in your personal life and within your business?
I think really it is, as I say, it was something that I gained quite later on in my career by actually taking note of these entrepreneurs that were delivering it. Once I realized the actual power of goal setting and what it helped you achieve, I started to set it across every aspect of my life. So every year, on a yearly basis, I will set 5 goals on the personal side of what I want to achieve personally. I'll set 5 goals on my career and my business, and then I'll set goals as well on my health and personal relationships. And that's essentially been very, very useful, and I'll always be monitoring that. And if I fall short, which it happens, you're not going to hit your goals every time. It will always be looking at a case and seeing what we can change in terms of outputs, and actually to be able to deliver those goals. But for my career, I always tried to do public speaking, set goals on public speaking, because it's something that's never come easy to me. I'm still not a massive fan of it now, but it's been really good. And also trying what I really would advise is goals about connecting with people. Try and connect with as many people as possible, because a lot of businesses actually have a board of members that they can advise to and go to for advice. So why, as a person or an individual, can you not have a board of mentors and people that can help you? And that's always been very useful for me, because I can always take my problems or challenges to them, and they can help me become better in achieving my goals as well.
Yeah, that's great, because a lot of what we do at UA92 is we really kind of focus on that personal and character development with our students, and we really want them to network with industries as much as they can, because when you're at university you really are focused on kind of getting your degree, but you don't think of those employability aspects that you're going to need after the 3 years. So this is something that I wish that I'd have really embodied when I was at university, and I know, Joe, you're probably the same. You say it's come a little bit later on in life, so we should have thought of this in the first year. So
there's also some just to throw it out there, well, it's on my mind, and for the students as well, there's actually a great platform that's been created in Manchester to help students that went through the challenges that you and I did, Katie, or maybe didn't really know about goal setting. There's a technology business based in Manchester, a young founder called Adam Metchison, and the business is called My2Be. And it basically connects students and young professionals with businesses as well, which might be quite useful.
That's brilliant. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll send that kind of email around actually afterwards, and so our students can get involved, and the students in our school network too. So the one thing that I'd always actually personally recommend to do, and we've kind of touched upon it already, is when starting somewhere new, whether that's at university or a new job or a new year, is to write down those goals and keep them. So it's really great to enable you to keep focused on the big picture, but will help you to form small habits and kind of achieve your long-term objectives. So Maya, coming to you, you said that you've written some goals. You didn't write any goals in September, but you've written some kind of goals for January for 2021 and kind of going forth. Could you tell us kind of one of those goals maybe?
I think the one to do with uni is I really want a first. Like that's what I've always said. Like, I'm not coming to uni and doing it half-hearted. Like, I want to go and get the best thing I can possibly do. So like, I think it's important as well when you're setting goals like that to sort of like focus on why you want to do it. Like, so like I said, I don't want to come to uni and just get like a degree just for getting a degree's sake. Like I want to go and like do like physically the best I can do and put everything in, and then at least I know if I've done that side of it, then if I don't get a first, then it's not the end of the world because I have done everything I physically can.
Yeah, and what's one of your short-term goals within that long-term objective of getting there?
On my phone.
She's got them on her phone.
Got them on my phone.
I can imagine it's kind of wider reading.
Yeah.
Industry partners, so getting your name out there. Have you got a LinkedIn?
Partners. Yeah, I have got a LinkedIn. I've not used it, but I have got a LinkedIn.
You're on the way already.
Yeah, but I think with the industry partners one, like we have people that come into uni and like are on Zoom all the time or on Teams all the time, and I think sort of like reaching out to them or making sure you ask questions and push yourself in them situations, because you never know where it's going to lead to.
Yeah.
Like what connection might, like they might know someone of someone else that can put you exactly where you want to be, so you never know.
Yeah, she knows it already, Joe. There's no point.
On the ball.
I know. So actually going on from kind of real world goal setting, I know this is the framework that you kind of tend to use. Is it within your personal life or is it with the kind of organisations that you work with, Joe?
It's both personally and with businesses as well. Trying to, set around, usually I typically do 1 year goals for a year's time, and then I'll analyze through. So they're both personal and for businesses, essentially. And as I say, I set them across all different aspects of my life, but this one is specifically more for the personal and also for clients as well.
Okay. And when it says like measure and analyze on a monthly, quarterly basis, what do you mean by that? How can we measure our goals?
So for example, specifically on the client side, when I'm working with my clients, we have a growth objective which we set at the beginning, which I mentioned earlier, makes us both accountable and checks that we're both on track. And basically measuring and analyzing, if we typically set a 12-month goal or target, which might be, for example, to bring on 10 new clients every month, or to generate £500,000 in revenue. So that's a year goal that we'll be working towards. And as a business and as the consultant for them, we will be reviewing to make sure that we're on track for that target. And it allows us to analyze that, address if we are falling short, what are the areas that we can improve on? Is it because I'm not doing the consultancy to the level I should be? Is it because the CEO is not performing? Is it because we need to invest more in marketing? What is that? We need to be analysing on a monthly and quarterly basis of where we're up to. And I suppose that works on a personal basis for me very well as well, because I set my goals on a 12-month basis, and it allows me to measure. And if I'm not hitting them, there's obviously things that I need to tweak and improve.
Yeah, thank you for that. And going then on to the kind of final point of like identifying new habits or outputs, sometimes it's really difficult to get into a new habit or even work out what is the new habit. So how do you identify those habits off the back of achieving your goal?
That's a really good question, and it's a difficult one as well in terms of like identifying new habits, because at times you will fall off you know, when you set goals, and it's important not to get disillusioned or to be disappointed sometimes that you don't hit your goals. It's very important that you stay on track. And I think the identifying new habits comes from the assessment piece, because when you're looking where you've done wrong, you have to take that accountability and assess what you're doing wrong, and look at areas of yourself and the business. And there's a great book which I'll probably touch upon later on, called You Can't Hurt Me, by David Goggins, who's an ex Navy SEAL, which some of you may or may not know. And he basically has what he calls an accountability mirror, which, you know, he assesses where it's going wrong, and he has to tell him the home truths of why it's not going on, instead of putting the blame sometimes on other areas. Sometimes you have to look at yourself and analyze what you can do better next time. And we keep on using the word, and I do myself, but it is again that accountability word. You taking personal responsibility, but sometimes you do have to search deep and assess why aren't you hitting those goals, and where it's coming from.
Yeah, I completely agree, because it's all well and good kind of getting a new notebook in 2021 or January,
Yeah.
writing your goals down and like being like, oh, come next year I'll be like really slim and I'll be really fit and I'll be in my dream career. But without having that accountability and assessing where are you up to, and are you halfway there, or have you not even started, you're not going to achieve those goals. So I completely agree with that.
And what are you doing on a daily basis as well on your outputs to achieve those goals? And that's what a lot of people do. They set a goal, but with no structure, no nothing, and it's a structure that you have to embed into and create those habits, which is the toughest part.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then actually, so when I've been kind of setting my own goals, I think I've sometimes struggled to assess where I want to be in the next few years. So I think it's really good to kind of take a step back actually before we write our goals, and think about some questions that we might want to ask ourselves. So I'm always thinking about, where do I want to be in 1 year, 5 years and 10 years? And then you can set your goals off the back of that. What have I wanted to do but was too afraid to try? What do I want to accomplish this year, and just do it as a yearly kind of goal? What do I most enjoy doing? So maybe, Maya, you know that you love kind of sports management aspect of your degree. That's why you've taken it, and you enjoy doing that the most. So that's a question that's really easy for yourself to answer. When I was at university, and I think Joe as well, we both didn't know what we wanted to do. And I think it's really kind of important to think about what you most enjoy doing. And especially if you're in year 13 and you're thinking, I'd want to go to university, but I'm not sure what subject. That's a really important thing to think about. What do I most enjoy doing? And then what are my values and priorities, and where am I now? And also, what is my reality? So as we've seen, and as Joe's touched upon, kind of COVID and lockdown has really impacted your kind of business, hasn't it? So you've really had to reassess and kind of probably re-strategize what you wanted to achieve this year. And maybe you've had to kind of reassess your goals halfway through the year, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a case right across the board, and not just myself, but everybody in business has had to, you know, set out with all these big ambitions. The economy's flying, it's in a strong place, everybody's thriving, and you set out your cash flow forecast, and you set out your goals for the next 2 years to 5 years, depending on the business leader, how long they set their plans. And then all of a sudden, COVID hits, you go lockdown, and you need to adapt. You need to adapt your goals. You need to readjust your cash flow forecast. You need to readjust how you actually do business, moving things to online and digitally. It is very tough, and sometimes these external factors, whether it's politics, whether it's a global pandemic which we're going through now, sometimes do affect your business, and you have to also be prepared for things as well. That's what you need to put in your strategy plan when you're doing it. You need to be prepared for things to go wrong, as they sometimes will.
Yeah, completely agree. So going and touching upon actually trying to stay motivated to achieve. So we've, I think, touched upon this quite a lot through kind of the past half an hour that we've been chatting, but have you found a difficulty, Joe, during lockdown to kind of stay motivated to achieve in kind of your personal goals?
Yeah, 100%. It is difficult to stay motivated. It really is. Not going to sugarcoat that. It's tough. We're going through something that's very serious. It's impacting a lot of people's mental health, and it is, staying motivated is difficult for anybody to achieve. So don't be so hard on yourself if you aren't hitting those goals through this difficult time, and don't be so hard on yourself. It is tough to stay motivated. The one thing that I would say on this, again, it comes back to habits. Stay motivated. You might fall off, but just try and get that structure back into your life, and get yourself out of bed one day, and you know, 6, 7 in the morning, whatever time. I didn't do that as a student, by the way. And get out and go for that run, and then have a morning where you've set 2 or 3 tasks that you want to do for yourself, whether it's, going out, getting an hour run, coming back and doing a brainstorming session, and actually, reward yourself for doing these. Have a nice little break and a bit of a lunch or something like that in between. But staying motivated is one of the hardest things when doing the goals, but you have to fall back on your outputs for the day, which sometimes are monotonous, but they require a lot of self-discipline. But it's the small little habits that form which will help you to gain success and keeping that discipline with those habits. It really will.
Yeah, it's so difficult, isn't it, just to try and keep that productivity up. And coming from a student perspective, Maya, how have you stayed motivated this year to achieve your goals that you set in January, but I'm sure you had back in September?
Yeah, no, it's been hard. Like Joe said, like I've really struggled, like especially I think you go up and down as well in lockdown. Like some days you feel like, oh, I could do loads today, and then other days you just think I'm just gonna have a pajama day. But I hate running, so I don't run. And before lockdown, I didn't enjoy walking. Like I didn't enjoy going on walks at all. But since it's like the only thing you can do, I've sort of like done it a bit more, and the more I do it, the more I enjoy it. And so then before lockdown 3 came in, the day before the announcement, my dad was like, right, we're all going to buy walking boots. So we were in Decathlon at like 7 o'clock at night buying walking boots. But another thing I've done for myself is I've ordered myself an Apple Watch so I can compete with my friends, because any sort of competition, I'll try and win. So I've ordered myself an Apple Watch so I can compete against my friends on steps per day.
Like
something you can do in like your kilometers. So I know for a fact as soon as I get it, I'm going to be like, right, I'm off.
See, you've reassessed. Jo, she's assessed and she's created new habits, and she wants to go out walking. So you're already doing what kind of Jo's framework is saying.
I also like to do things like cure my boredom. So like I've got no bedside tables at the minute because they're downstairs because me and my mum painted them. So just to keep painted, just to keep us from getting bored.
Perfect. Well, that's lovely to hear. So it is so difficult to stay motivated. It does feel a bit like Groundhog Day, but I think what Jo and Maya have really got to is just that don't be hard on yourself. Things are difficult. We're in the 3rd lockdown. You can try and keep your goals as much as you can, and that's kind of all we want for you as UA92 students and also as prospective students too. So Maya, could you talk us through your goal setting tips for us?
Yeah, of course I can. So I always think it's nice to put a time in your day to like look at your goals, or in your week or your month, or find a time where you can actually sit down and look at them. So whether that's what you've written on your phone or you've written down, like I think it's nice to almost look back at what you've done already, because you've probably done something to take a step towards it without even realizing most of the time. I also think you need to reward your work. So if you're sat for hours and hours at a computer screen, you're just going to burn out, and it's not going to be like nice for you at all. So there's like a technique called the Pomodoro method, and it's about doing 25 minutes of work and then a 5-minute break. And then once you've done 4 lots of that, taking a longer break, so like a lunch break. So it's more like what you would do at school. So having like a lesson and then having time between it, and then a lesson and time between it. So it's like a nice way of taking a break and doing something else. I also think you've got to look back at your goals. So say for example, when you go to look at your goals for the year, 6 months in, and you think, well, I've done that, or I don't really want that anymore, you can change it. Like they're not set in stone. And that's why I like to put them on my phone, because you can retype it, so you can delete it and redo it. rather than having to cross it out because it looks like you've not achieved it then, even though you have, or you've changed your mind about what you want to do. And then I also think you've got to set manageable goals alongside your big goals. So I like to have ones that are almost I can achieve in a few months, and I like to have ones that you can achieve in like 5 years time. So you are making progress, but you've also got something to look forward to in the future, if that makes sense.
That completely makes sense. Thank you for that. And Joe, do you have any goal setting kind of top tips that students can take away today? I've just thrown that on you, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right, don't worry. I'd just say make them achievable, but at the same time enough motivation to want you to sort of get out of bed in the morning and go and achieve them. I would also, say put measurements in place as well, as Maya said, and reevaluating your goals, but also making sure that you're on track with them, essentially.
Yeah, completely agree. So we've got actually a minute for some questions if anyone has any, so just pop them in the chat box or also kind of in the question and answer. But we have two actually questions that have already come in. So I know you mentioned previously a motivational book that you recommended, Joe, but do you have any other, or do you want to touch upon that a little bit more, motivational podcasts or books that you've recommended to read? And that's from Tom, that question.
Yeah, I've actually never done so much reading in my life as I have done in lockdown. It's something that I've picked back up and really started to enjoy. And I think when you set up your own business and you have calls with other entrepreneurs, you get in suggested books and podcasts on a daily basis. One of the podcasts that I like to listen to is the High Performance podcast. It interviews a lot of people who are inspirational, gets inside their heads on a daily basis, whether they're professional athletes or just celebrities or whatever that be. I tend to listen to the High Performance podcast quite a lot. In terms of books, as I say, You Can't Hurt Me is a book of a Navy SEAL, very good for like mindset and resilience. And again, he goes into the accountability side of things on the goal setting. And I'm just trying to think. I've just had a little look over to the bookshelf there to see if there's anything else that's on there. But there's another one as well, which is called Never Eat Alone. And I think that's a good one for you to read, because as a student, as you're coming in, as you're assessing what you want to do, you can be contacting people, and it encourages you to network and speak to people in the professional world, to maybe speak to them and learn more about the businesses and keep on connecting with people and enhance your network, because having a good network bodes well for your future career and what you want to go into.
Yeah, completely agree. And I've listened to the High Performance podcast and I've really enjoyed that. So I've been reading a lot during lockdown. There's nothing else to do apart from read and walk, as Maya is aware. So I'll definitely be reading those. And Maya, just a question actually, it's not so much about goal, but we could think about goals to do with it. Is from Coral, and she says, Maya, how do I finish my personal statement?
It's hard if you don't have the motivation to do it. But I found when I was doing my personal statement to ask as many people about their opinion on it. So just get your ideas down as best you can, and then I always speak to my uncle and my mum, and then I get my dad to read over it, even though he's not very good at anything like that. But he reads over it for me, bless him. And my mum and my uncle really help me with things like that. So I get them to read over it and give me like feedback on it. And I also, when people used to come into college from different units, I used to print a copy of it for them and then like give it to them so they can give me almost an idea of what they think I could add or anything like that. But no, just try your best to get your ideas on paper or on your laptop, whatever you do it on, and then just see who can help you with it. But if I could go back to the other question that you asked about the books.
Go on, yeah.
I've never actually read it, but have you heard of The Secret?
No, I've not. Joe, have you?
Yes, I have. And I've read it, and I'm reading one similar at the moment. The book that I'm actually on at the moment, which is called The Tibetan Art of Positive Thinking. But I have read The Secret, and it is very good. It's good. It's well worth a read.
because it's about like manifesting. So it's very similar to goal setting in a sense of like, it's what you want to do, but you're almost telling the universe that that's what you have now, rather than that's what you want to achieve in the future. So it's another way of looking at it. So some people find it easier to look at it from that aspect than they are from like, this is where I want to be in 5 years' time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Mia. And actually, we've got another question come from an anonymous attendee, so very, very secret. My question is to Mia. What are your career aspirations in the future once you've got your degree? So would you like to tell everyone what degree you're doing at the moment?
So I'm doing sports management. So it's a business-based course, but obviously with a sports aspect. So you won't find me like running around a football pitch or anything like that. It's all business based. So far I've done sports psychology and management and organizations. So it's like two very different sides of like the industry almost. So I'd really like to go into football agency work and then specialize in female footballers, because I think football is a man's world, and there's no getting around that. And I think the more we can do to put women in it and help them, then yeah, it's positive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, and I hope that's answered the person's question. There's no more questions that have come through, and I'm very aware that we've gone over time because I've really enjoyed this chat actually. So I'd just like to say thank you to both of you. You've been very inspirational and motivational, and I feel like I'm going to reassess my goals. I'm going to try and achieve them this 2021. 2022 was a write-off. We can get it done this year.